Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Let's Talk Politics. I'm your host, Eddie Layne, and of course, this program is dedicated to highlighting the progress and development taking place under the People's Progressive Party Civic Administration. But at the same time, we use the opportunity to respond to the lies and misinformation of the APNU AFC opposition. I have with me this evening the Honorable Joseph Hamilton, the Minister of Labor. Minister, it's a pleasure to have you this evening.
Always delighted to be on the program.
All right, so let's get straight into this, Minister. We have just about 30 minutes or so to do this. And let's speak directly to the big confusion and the whole, the sort of noise coming from the opposition over a factual statement made by a minister of the government, a man who has an obligation by way of an oath that he took to represent and to look out for the people of this country. He made a very factual statement that there's the people in the PNC, they have they are not role models to anyone. These are people who were busy trying to steal an election. These are people who neglect this country, including the Afro-Guyanese who they now claim to represent. And for 5 years, the same Afro-Guyanese couldn't get onto them via phone or couldn't go to their offices or haven't seen them in the community. Minister Ramson's statement was factual. He wasn't lying, but because Minister Ramson said it, it becomes a problem. I don't know how we respond to this, Minister.
Let us quickly, and to the viewers who are paying attention to this program this evening, there is this foolishness among some people of African descent who seem to believe, firstly, that they have rights, they and they alone have rights over us of African descent, and they're the only ones who are authorized divinely, I suppose, to speak for us and on our behalf. I dare say this evening, these gentlemen and gentle ladies, they don't speak for Joseph Hamilton and his family. So that's the first point. I have not authorized the likes of Simona Brooms and David Hines and Burke and Ben Scott and those persons to speak on my behalf. And therefore, they have no authority to speak for me. That is the first point. And I know that hundreds of thousands of people feel the same way. The second point, Eddie, is Minister Ramson is a minister of the government of the Republic of Guyana, and therefore he is duty bound to speak on any matter that, in his opinion, he sees it as being inimical to the development of communities and the development of people to contribute positively to Guyana and its development. That's his duty. He took an oath. He swore to do that. And therefore, he can make any comment that is justified, factual comment, and bring a conversation for deliberation in the public domain. And that is what he has done. And instead of he is congratulated for it, he's chastised for it. And he's chastised not for making the comment. It is not the comment is the problem, Eddie. It is because he is an Indian. He should not make such a comment. I am saying he can properly make that comment because he's not just an ordinary citizen. He's a minister of culture, youth, and sport of all the people of Guyana. And I believe any minister can make any comment regarding anything that is detrimental anything that is negative and can create negative conditions for the development of this country. Because what plays out in any community of any ethnic origin that is negative, that spills over to the total population. We are not isolated. No community is isolated by themselves on an island. This is Guyana, a land of 6 races that we're trying to develop a country. And therefore, we can have this conversation. I regularly go into inter-Amerindian communities, and I make comments to the fact that are factual, that there should be more young persons and persons generally trained as regards technical and vocational skills. That's a factual comment. That is not a comment attempting to denigrate a community or an ethnic group. So if you take the comment that Charles Ramsden made, Minister, that these people are trying to illogically say somehow it's racist and it's a racist comment, then by extension, I'm making a comment in the Amerindian community about the lack of technical skills can be deemed a negative comment. But the comments are made to bring to people's attention the need for us to cooperate and collaborate to ensure that this negativity disappears or dissipates. And that is it. So the comment is that there aren't enough role models in the Afro-Guyanese community so that young Black men and women can follow as regards economic empowerment and development. That's a factual comment. Eddie, you know that it's a comment that is regularly debated and deliberated upon in the African Guyanese community over a cup of tea at a bar, around breakfast and lunch tables, with families, with colleagues. So it's a comment, it's a discourse that is out there. And so this conversation by these usual suspects to suggest that only they are authorized to make such a comment, and anyone who makes it, who is not of our ethnic group, they are racist. That is total baloney.
But Minister, look at who are taking umbrage at the comments. The people who are taking umbrage, Harman and the others, who can they be role model to? Do they want us to have Lampy and Pampy, Shera Duncan and the other one as role models? Aubrey Norton, they want to be the role model. Harman wants to be a role model. This is a gang of people who are trying to steal an election in the full view of the world. What is the role model from them? They want young Guyanese to become like them? They were stealing an election nakedly in the eyes of the world.
Yeah, no one is responsible for their immorality and their thievery and corruption. They're responsible for it. No one is responsible for the fact that nobody sees them as role model. They're responsible for it. Because no sane person wants a thief or a corruptor or a person who sees himself as trying to hijack an election. Who wants to see them as role model? And that is their problem. That is their problem. And then Joe Harman makes the point that Black people must unite. Unite against whom and again, for what? And those are the questions he has to answer. What are you uniting around, Harman? Uniting around Congress Place? Uniting around all those persons who studiously attempted to thief an elections in 5 months and put this country through trauma and pain? those are the persons you must unite around in whose interests. So he wants us to unite, the people to unite. One of the other important things that people must recognize is this, and Eddie, you know, these people who talk about unity of Afro-Guyanese, they only see persons who support PNC and APNO AFC as African Guyanese. For people like me and you, we don't qualify. And so anything that got to do with the development of Afro-Guyanese, we are not qualified to speak on it. We are not invited to articulate a position. They have taken it upon themselves. So on one hand, they talk about Black people must unite. And then on the other hand, they ostracize Black people who made their political position known, that they have this constitutional right to do. They make you an enemy for life. And they seek to find all the disparaging remarks they can find to castigate you and your family daily. And I give you an example of my own suffering, for want of a better word. When the person who should run AGDA, that is now deceased, I think Sam was his name, I can't remember. You know, I was a member of the board of the AGDA school, Eddie, because he recognized that I had an interest and I could have brought something to the table to develop that school. When the likes of the Eric Phillips, they took it over. And they can say, I was unceremoniously voted out of the board of directors to manage the educational, the school that they were attempting to develop. And that was so because I was PPP. So I wasn't Black anymore. I wasn't Afro-Guyanese anymore. They didn't see me as being a part of helping to develop this Black entity. So they can't have it both ways. They have to decide what they want. You can't talk about unity glibly. You can't talk about unity of the African Guyanese when it suits your purpose. You can't talk about unity of African Guyanese and when you had power, you were uniting with other races. You were not uniting Armand with people, the Afro-Guyanese. All your unity and all the people you were helping to make more money than they already had. They didn't look like Joe Hamilton and Edward Layne. All your bosom buddies. So when you had power, what did you do, Joe Armand? What did you do for any community that supported you? What did you do for East Rumbell? What did you do for Buxton? What did you do for Ansgrove, Golden Grove? What did you do for La Penitence, Albistown? Nothing, N-O-T-H-I-N-G. But today he come crying crocodile tears and then making himself a pomposetta and a jester on Main Street there today. Him and another 8 jesters showing up there to say they're protesting against the minister for his comment. And that is the reason people recognize who they are. They're useless. And that is the reason why he can only attract 8 persons beside himself as opposition leader. Because people in the African Guyanese community, they have seen them for what they are. They do not care about them and their welfare.
But Minister, 2 important things. And one, it is important to recognize that he showed up today and couldn't get 10 people to go with him because all who have seen the statement, or majority of the people who have seen the statement, recognize that the statement was factual, that indeed there is a lack of role models in the Afro-Guyanese community. There is. We're not saying there are not any. There are. But the number is very small. And in the PNC, to besides, there is none. Absolutely no one in the PNC is fitting to be a role model, at least my children. And I'm sure your grandchildren, you don't want them to look up to any one of them in the PNC to be, to be like them. That's the first thing. The second thing, Harman is quick to jump on the Charles Ramson bandwagon to condemn and to call for the removal of the minister and to stage protests. But just a short week and a half ago, Harman was absolutely silent when a member of one of the parties, a senior member, I think it's the leader of a party in the coalition, the WPA, in the person of David Hines, disparaged Indian people, Indo-Guyanese, and call on Afro-Guyanese to boycott Indian businesses and talk about don't allow the people from Blackbush Poland to Plaisance Market to sell. He practically is threatening the lives, if you want, or instigating threat against the lives of Indo-Guyanese coming from Blackbush Poland. He talked about the lady who was selling black pudding, that she wasn't an Afro-Guyanese. But Harman is silent. Is that an indication that Harman is in support of the racist position of the coalition member? And by extension, it's a demonstration of the racist position of the coalition.
But the thing is, Eddie, is here you have this mighty professor with all his intellect. I'm sure he would composite that around the place. He can bring nothing of substance to the table to promote and to develop Afro-Guyanese community. And so he does what he knows best. Every conversation is about racism and ethnic destruction, because that is what he was parroting. The fact that you talk about undermining Indians who support the PPP, that is what you're talking about, and to boycott them. That is what you're basically saying and doing. But he has nothing to offer the Afro-Guyanese community as regards development. He has nothing to offer his home village, Buxton. They have nothing on the table as to how people can improve their lives. Neither David Hines, neither Joe Harman, and all the persons who speak every day with their racist intent. And then the mighty professor, he becomes now a protector of black pudding. I mean, he now determined the racism is so rooted in David Hines that he now is defining racial ethnic group by who only should cook this type of food or that type of food. So Eddie, me and you love pepper pot. We should not at all attempt to, if we take this guy's conversation, we should not at all attempt to cook and eat pepper pot. We would like good mutton curry. We should not at all attempt to do that, because by this guy foolishness, that is what we should only participate, and we should only cook and sell and eat what we consider our ethnic food. And you know what was most nonsensical about this professor? Is that black pudding and white pudding, it is not an African ethnic dish.
Britain and Ireland. Great Britain and Ireland.
That's the point. It came out of the European people of the British Isles that we adopted. So this professor is trying to claim a dish and trying to have an ethnic conversation around it when the dish don't even belongs to us. We ourselves, we have adopted the dish. So if we can adopt the dish, why a person of...
Before you go on from there, I want to ask a question. Where exactly is this professor buying from when he sits in the US?
Well, I don't know. I suspect he imports his white pudding. He imports his white pudding in from BV or Buxton, because he's saying that it's an absurdity that black pudding is being sold at Mont Repose. And according to him, he nearly got a heart attack and all kinds of foolishness. So he has laid claim to a dish that don't belong to him. So he can take the dish, but a person of Indian ethnic group, the Indian ethnic group, they cannot take it. You see the foolishness of all of this. And we speak to it, Eddie, so that people can grasp how useless these guys are, that they bring nothing to the table for the development of you and your children and your grandchildren in the African community, in this country. And therefore, they are not your role models. As you have said, Eddie, there are numerous role models in the African Guyanese community. What I can say definitively, that when you check across the spectrum of PNC type, APNU AFC type, they are not there. Because what you have there, male and female, liars and cheats and corrupters and deceivers, and some of them are so terrible that they do their evil in the name of God. They propagate their racism and stir strife in the name of God. And so people must recognize those things. And that is the reason why I have said yesterday, and I will say it again, this is a conversation that we should have across the length and breadth of this country. In the African Guyanese community, no old bars conversation. Let us discuss it. That is the only way we can find solution to it. How, first we have to identify that it exists. If we go into self-denial, we would not seek for remedy and solutions. And I suspect a lot of these guys, they want us to be in self-denial. But as I have said, we have been discussing this matter among our families and our friends forever. And we will continue the discussion. I would hope that some of these people who think they have this, say they have this interest, they will make the necessary arrangements where we can properly discuss this matter and we can find the necessary solutions to the problem that we have identified. And finally, I say this, Minister Ramsden has no one or nothing to apologize about. The statement was not fabricated. It was not erroneous. It was a factual statement made by him. And secondly, by being a member of the government of Guyana, he can make any comment that is uplifting and that is of interest to the Guyanese people. Any one of us across the racial ethnic divide, we can make comments and articulate positions as regards a problem and then go beyond that like he has been doing. Finding remedies and solutions to fix the problem.
And you know, Minister, on the same note, I think one has to recognize, and I think this is the problem that these guys have. And you rightly said the statement, it's not a new statement. It's factual, and it's a statement that has been repeated many times over by Afro-Guyanese themselves. Most recently, a man who has been very close to the PNC, to the APNU AFC, made similar statements to talk about there is no role model in the PNC for young Afro-Guyanese. But I think the issue here is because ingrained in the PNC is this racist mentality. It's this racist mentality. So they only expect anything to do with Afro-Guyanese because they believe somehow they have the birthright to Afro-Guyanese. So they are the authority. The PNC is the authority. The same PNC, like you rightly said, did nothing for Afro-Guyanese. As a matter of fact, in 5 years, I think just about 360 house lots they gave to Linden. We went and gave 400, I think, in 1 day, in less than a year in office. Charles Ramsden, the same Charles Ramsden minister, has been in Buxton fixing the ground and helping the people there, has been in Agricola helping the church and helping the community, has been in Tiger Bay, has been in Stewartville just last week, has been across this country in Indo-Guyanese communities, in Afro-Guyanese communities, in Amerindian communities, ensuring that he worked to uplift not just communities that are supportive of the PPP, but all communities across this country, and more so the very Afro-Guyanese communities, so that they can have, those youngsters can have somebody to look up to, and those youngsters can have activities that are going to keep them away from delinquency. The second issue is I want to, and before I bring you back in here, because we have just about maybe about 5 minutes or so, is apart from the racism that is ingrained in the PNC and the APNU AFC, their embarrassment lies with the current outstanding performance of this government. This government has done more for the people of Guyana in the last 14 months than APNU did in 5 years. So they want to manufacture controversies to divert attention from our stellar record of uplifting our promises that we made to people on the campaign trail, that we have been fulfilling them at a rate that seems to have an ending where we will finish maybe with our manifesto promises before the end of the 5 years. And that is why we're creating these non-existent controversies to divert attention from what is happening. And the second thing they're diverting attention from is the worries and trouble that they have in the PNC. The whole fight for who should be the leader and who should not be. So they want to instigate and to turn Afro-Guyanese to somehow believe that is why Harman is talking about uniting, because he wants them to unite behind him, to elect him as leader maybe.
You know, quickly, listen to me, is this. We cannot be distracted, as a first point. We have made commitments to the people of Guyana, all the people of Guyana. And that is the reason why you see all of us out there, day and night, delivering goods and services to the people of Guyana. So they cannot and will not distract us. Their dilemma that they have is the one you identify, that what we have done in 14 months, they did not do in 5 years. And if you give them another 15 years, they wouldn't be able to do it. so that's the point. But the other issue is they have nothing productive to bring to the table, Eddie. Nothing productive. And therefore, what they look out for is things that they deem to be ethnic in origin to latch on, to make an argument and a case. You followed the last year. It is these kinds of conversations they manufacture and develop. Nothing that is developmental, nothing that is uplifting. They have not come to this government and said to us, Eddie, we have identified these programs among our constituency. Could you, the government, facilitate this development? Because they have no interest in that. They don't have any interest in their constituent. They have no interest in no one. They have interest only in themselves. This manufactured controversy is useful for all of them who want to run for leader of PNC, to assemble votes. That is what this is. It is trying to show that I am the baddest wolf at Congress Place. But the people of Guyana is wiser, they're smarter, they have interest in their development and their welfare and their economic well-being. And that is what they pay attention to. Building their houses, getting house lots, buying new vehicles, seeking scholarships, and seeking to, as far as educate their children and themselves. That is what the people of Guyana is concerned about. And therefore, we cannot be distracted. The population in large measure of Guyana will not be distracted, and we will continue to give service, goods and service to the Guyanese people, and we will continue to attack them like we are doing when they seek to disparage or they seek to fabricate in the political space. We have to take them on, and we have to take them on frontally so that they know that we will not let anything pass or slip. We will pounce on it, and we will articulate it so the Guyanese people could understand properly the views of the People's Progressive Party and the views of the People's Progressive Party civic government.
Minister, I want to thank you so much for joining me this evening and to really dismantle, like you rightly said, the lies, the manufactured controversies, and the clutching at straws, clearly coming from the opposition. They realize that they are becoming irrelevant, that the people of Guyana are moving forward, are focused on their personal development, the development of their families and their communities, capitalizing on the scholarship opportunities, the 20,000 plus scholarships that we're making available, capitalizing on the economic opportunities that are being created, the opportunities to personal upliftment through ownership of a house lot. And those are the things that the people of Guyana are focused on. They're not focused on whether Harmon thinks he's a role model or whether Christopher Jones or Shara Duncan thinks he is a role model, or Aubrey Norton. Clearly they are not, and people are not concerned about them. That is why they're failing. People are concerned about moving forward, and I think that is the important thing. And I want to say, and I know you will echo similar sentiments, that the People's Progressive Party government remains open, and the PPPC remains open to working with every single Guyanese to move this country forward. We're not concerned about who you voted for. The party politics ended after the elections. And we're not concerned where you live or the texture of your hair. We're concerned that you're a Guyanese, that we want to uplift you and your family and your community. Minister, I don't know if you want to give a closing comment before I wrap up.
Eddie, let me say thank you very much for having me. And I'm prepared and willing anytime to join this conversation, any place, with anyone. I'm prepared to debate these so-called prophets of Black people anytime and anywhere, to show them how lacking they are as regards contributing to the development of Afro-Guyanese and Afro-Guyanese communities.
Thank you very much, Minister. And to our viewers and listeners, we say thank you.
Eddie, have a good evening.
You too, Minister.